Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Rage Against the Regime Radio, where status quo is taken to task. With your host, Bobby Who's Demand. Don't be a stranger. Give us a call at 929-477-3565 or contact us at rageagainsttheregimepodcast@gmail.com or on our Twitter at RATR Podcast. And please like our Facebook page. On with the show. Here's Bobby.
Gathered in their masses, just like witches at black masses. Evil minds that plot destruction, sorcerer of death construction. In the fields of bodies burning, as the war machine keeps turning, death and hatred to mankind, poisoning their brainwashed minds. Oh Lord, yeah.
That was a little War Pig, Black Sabbath. That's what we're going through today. This is Becky Williams on Rage Against the Regime. I've already got a couple of callers on the line. 714 area. Who have I got?
Hi, Becky. It's Bill DiGirolamo.
Hey, Bill. I'm so glad you joined me today. I was flying solo there for a moment. Hold on. I think we have Keith on the line. 870. Is that you, Keith?
Yes, it is. Hey, Keith.
Hey, how my brothers doing today?
I'm still here.
I have a question
okay
for you
today,
guys.
Becky, thanks.
And I'll let you go ahead and answer first, Bill, if you would. What do you think about the sheriffs coming into Washington with their paperwork in hand? Have you heard anything?
Yeah,
I've not heard anything yet.
Go ahead, Keith.
I say I've not heard anything yet officially.
I'll give my thoughts on it. I haven't heard anything as far as what's occurring, but I have my thoughts on what's occurring and how people should pay attention to it, because there are a lot of people out there that have ideas that this will work or that'll work or this won't work or that won't work. I think that what people should take the opportunity to do here is look at the fact that these gentlemen, at some risk to themselves and actually requiring great effort, are actually approaching with lawful warrants that are established under law as to the reason why they've been drawn up in the first place and being presented. And people should pay close attention, regardless of what their ideas are about what actions they would or wouldn't take. They should pay close attention to how these lawful warrants are regarded or not regarded, which should be what people pay closest attention to if they're not regarded. And I think the people need to get behind what's actually happening and stand up for that, because there's all these circumstances, there's all these situations, there's all these little events popping up that everybody wants to react to, but those are all popping up because of the lack of attention paid to the constitutional process and the responsibility of the servants who are supposed to protect us and secure the constitution of the land. In that, what's happening when they're there is to address this very situation and the fact that it's not being upheld, and see exactly how the problem and cause for all of these problems that we're experiencing respond to that, or the lack of response. Because I think we're getting to the point where it's just going to have to come out in the open, where they throw their hands up in the district of corruption and say, okay, well, we're kidding. We didn't give a crap about any of this anyway. We've taken you over, or this is no longer America. Either that, or they're going to have to back up and take pause and start acknowledging some of this. This is an opportunity for the people in both houses, as well as the executive branch and everywhere else, to say, wow, we have an opportunity here to either jump in and let them know that we don't regard any of this, or that, wow, I think it's time that we step out of it and start doing the right thing. But this is a chance for people to see lawful individuals with lawful due process that occurred, and they're taking an action on that. And how is it going to be responded to and be addressed by the people required to answer that? They at least have to respond to it lawfully. And I think that that's what people might want to pay attention to this as. And, whoever can support them there, that's great. I think that that's important as well. But I think that all eyes from here, that's another thing, too. I'm not saying that everybody is, jumps on Alex's bandwagon, but if he can have some media there for that, and any other independents, or as many independents as is possible, as their media covering this, we can assure that the lack of the mainstream media's coverage won't hamper everybody from actually being able to see this process.
You know what's
that's really
frustrating,
important.
Honestly, is just that. The media has chosen to do a major surge to concern the sleeping citizens who don't understand exactly what martial law will entail and the ramifications. So they are giving heightened attention and hyper attention to the protests across America. And we're seeing a lot of chatter coming out of Europe and the Middle East about how bad things are here and how dangerous it is because we're armed and the police have gone rogue. And I think this is all a well-planned scheme to initiate validation for the UN to intervene with the arms treaty that Kerry signed and instill martial law. Now, if he does pull a martial law on us, and it's looking like that's the direction he wants to go, he knows the sheriffs are coming. I highly suspect that could very well start happening across America in the next few days before the 10th even arrives.
Well, first off, there is no validation that can be created for the UN to step in, period. They don't belong here in this type of an environment, and they've been conditioning the world and the people who don't pay attention or recognize the validity of something here in America for decades by going into all these countries and doing this, that, and everything else, and standing up for these people or thwarting those people, whatever the case may be that they're doing, so that people think, well, yeah, that's a natural thing that happens if the shit hits the fan. Wow, the UN's got to come in or going to come in or can come in. They can't come in. They're not allowed in. They're not part of our process, and we need to extract them from our process entirely because this particular administration is subjecting us to their international law over everything else, and they've completely abandoned our common and natural laws and the Constitution already. I think that people could serve themselves better as far as how they stand, how they're afraid, how they're emboldened, just how they see the big picture if they recognize that this martial law isn't going to be any kind of a policing action. It should be seen and recognized for what it is. It will be a stage, and if they're going to exercise that, it'll be their final run at basically competing a coup.
Right.
Which they've been in the process of for a long time.
Exactly. And, Bill, the UN has painted themselves by disguise as peacekeepers, world peacekeepers. And the population that is sleeping sees them still as such. In the event of a humanitarian crisis, a natural disaster. And Obama has managed to engage us in not 7 but 8 wars now, where we have troops deployed. And I kind of have an idea what he's going to pull. He's going to pull this bullshit that we have. We need to have the UN intervene as peacekeepers under a martial law clause that he's going to execute to try to validate them being on our soil, boots on the ground and armed, to assist with martial law because we're going to be in a situation. Remember, strategically this, who did he send to Africa, to Liberia? Was it National Guard and Army, or was it one of the other?
Well, he threatened to call the National Guard in to do that, but nonetheless, he still sent military in a situation that medical personnel, the World Health Organization, if the UN wants to play the overlord of that, then they could have been there with all of their medical advisement. But the point that you could have done with that at a much lesser expense, if you truly intended to serve that situation as it actually existed, rather than covertly harvesting and perfecting a weapon that they have the ability to use when they choose, you would have sent, and this is not a tough thing to do for medical experts and mobile laboratory PhDs in the world who know this and have seen this and have done this. They could have easily set up the highest level medical and science laboratories that they needed there and done all of the microbiology and virology and whatever level of treatment they could muster on that situation. If it was truly a situation that was strictly a medical calamity, if you have a natural outbreak of something that people are severely hampered with, or under dire circumstance from, like Ebola can do and can be. But it wasn't handled that way. They didn't set up all of the research labs, all of the decontamination, and all of the medical and science laboratory necessities that they could have easily right there, without taking any risk, without flying it here, without flying it there, without taking in proper personnel. If you don't respond to something in a manner that befits the problem, then something else is obviously going on, and you're serving that other circumstance.
Bill, let me take this call real quick, and you make some very valid points there, brother, and I'm going to get right back to you. Let's see who's on the line. 716, you're on live. Rage Against the Regime. Who's I got? Who's speaking? 716 area code. You're on live.
Okay, you got Dab Rob.
Hey, brother, can you hold on just a minute? And I'm going to get right to you. I'm going to live mic. Bill was making a point concerning the deployment in Liberia and San Leone by Obama, and I have a theory, Bill. You know, I just spoke about the UN. What I believe logistically they're about to pull, everything points to that. I believe that Obama is going to state we need the UN here because we're skinny on troops. I believe
because we're what? Because we're what?
Because we're skinny on troops. We're involved in 8 wars, and we're deployed to many other countries, boots on the ground. So we're skinny on military defense or assistance. Hear me out, please. Let me finish. Now, the UN, being that they are the ones who should be sent in to do the task that our military was sent to San Leone and Liberia to do, I believe, and everybody agreed, even the Pentagon, the DOD, Congress, the general public, everyone agreed that was a stupid move. Why would you do that? Well, he continues to do these stupid moves, if you will, but I believe they're very deliberate. I believe it's methodical, and I believe it's logistical. Now, if you think about it, this is all making sense to a frightening degree. If you look at the big picture, don't look at the immediate picture or section picture, but look at the whole thing as it's coming to fruition. And I do believe, seriously, they know the sheriffs are coming. They do. Everybody knows it. Hell, the FBI knows when I take a pee. So they know they're coming. And these protests are escalating. I watched last evening. It's everything was done with timing, precise timing, the amnesty thing, and now Congress is saying he's within the legal law, and he's not. That's smoking BS. They're blowing up our butts. Then you have, right after that, you've got the release of the grand jury on Michael Brown, thug, organized protests across the country, Al Sharpton, Eric Holder, the likes of their character. And then we had CARE step up and say it's time for the Muslim Brotherhood to join in with our black brothers and sisters. Listen, Islam hates blacks. They're nothing more than a casualty for war for them, a show of force, because Islam referred to them as less than a dog. They were the masters. They're the ones who sold them into slavery, who continue to slaughter them around the world if they do not convert to Islam. So they step up and they fund these organized protests, and then all of a sudden the grand jury comes out, major announcement, the gentleman and I agree, I do not believe that he should have suffered to the degree of force that was used in New York City. Punish the damn cops. Get an indictment. The FBI is notified every time there is a death, or wait a minute, there's supposed to be. Every time there's a death involving a citizen killed by an officer, there is the FBI, for whatever reason, and that makes no sense to me. We all have internal investigations in every police department, but the federal government has to be notified if there is a death of a citizen. And to the release now, the story was that 18,000 were killed at the hands of officers across the country. No mention of the more than 400 or 500, I can't remember the number of police officers killed by perps this year, but they made it a point in the midst of all this protesting to release to the public that many of those incidents of death by law enforcement were not turned over to the FBI, implying that more than 6,000 of those were hidden. So the implication there with what's going on is, in fact, that the police departments are all corrupt. And that is part of what we're hearing being broadcast across the news and the reasons why there's chatter overseas about it. They're making this an international news piece for a reason. Any thoughts on that, 716?
I'd have to agree with you on it. Yeah, I agree with you. It's on something like that, I could see creating a need to bring the UN in, just like you're saying about creating wars overseas that we send troops to. In the meantime, we're downsizing the military, or they've been downsizing the military, and that creates the need to bring in the UN to the U.S. borders. And
I agree.
It's the same thing with,
go ahead, sir. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
It's the same thing with what we've seen going on with the Texas-Mexico border throughout the course of this year. And the push and the talk about bringing in or creating the need for a UN troop, a neutral security force. Well, we all know what that will open the door to.
It's our land.
I agree, and the other thing that is very concerning to me is Obama just opened the gate thousands and thousands of illegals to join our military forces. Understand, these people have no patronage, no honor, no tie to Americans whatsoever, and those are the ones that will be most likely to fire on Americans and follow this evil bastard's move.
Let's go back to that border situation for just a second, and let's consider, first off, it's our border. We Americans defend that border. No neutral anybody, no foreign association of anybody. It's none of anybody else's business. It's our borders and our responsibility. Secondly, if the UN was a humanitarian organization, when you had this massive migration from South America, Central America, from South Mexico all the way up to the border, and all those people were caravanned and huddled to come across the border. If the UN was this humanitarian organization, wouldn't they step in Mexico, and wouldn't the Mexican government get involved and take care of those people in the area that they allowed the problem to congregate at and deal with it? If it wasn't intended otherwise let's travel it across the American border and deal with it there, while through the back door we're classifying the sworn enemies of America as refugees and flying them into the country on the northern side. You have to start looking at these things. And you talked just a moment ago, Becky, about the thinning of our forces as an excuse to bring the UN and stuff. Well, we're not being attacked by, say, make up any country you want, to where suddenly we've asked, hey, our country's being overrun, we need help. To bring them in because we have a thinning military, who would we bring them in for? To what? To go against the American people? That would be the highest form of treason to the Republic, the Constitutional Republic of America, if they were to bring anybody in for any excuse to take a warring or policing action against we the people here. So there's no validation that they can give that's just. They can tell all the fairy tales and create all of the news coverage and stories that they want, but it just doesn't fly. And people have to start looking at the actuality of the facts. And no matter what the reason or the story is, if it doesn't fit, then it doesn't fit. As far as like an uprising goes, if we didn't have a government limiting and denying everybody, good has always outweighed the evil. There are many more good people when you walk down every street than there are truly bad people. We can handle these situations ourselves if everybody isn't shoved down, walked over, and forced off onto the sidelines to watch either their streets get burned down or whatever the political requirement is to create some kind of an uprising. And the martial law, it has to be seen for what it is. It would be the opening act of a final takeover. And I'm not going to say a military takeover because a coup has already occurred. The military can step in if we, the people, stand up to it. But we have to take responsibility of it. The security of the nation lies within the people. And even the term Homeland Security or security of the homeland, that comes from the original militia doctrines, which predate the Declaration of Independence. Mm-hmm. So to go to the point in Homeland Security, which 95% of its resources are spent violating and policing the people here instead of the function that they were designed for, which it doesn't matter what function you gave them. They're not lawful and not entitled to that, period. And that is our responsibility there. We just have to start looking at it more clearly so that we don't have to react to excuses or scenarios, because we can't be distracted anymore. We cannot be distracted anymore. A fact is a fact, and that's all there is to it. And a distraction is just a bunch of bullshit. It's like somebody who takes a bat and hits you in the head. Oh, shoot, I didn't knock him out or I didn't kill him. Well, then let me validate that and talk him out of retaliating. No, we're not going to get hit with the bat anymore, and you can't give us any reason that you say it's justified to do so. It's just, I'm so frustrated.
Keith,
Go ahead.
Keith, I have a question for you, brother. You're pretty savvy when it comes to Constitution and how it's supposed to operate for the citizens and the people. You're also aware that three of them. You also are aware that, Washington, D.C. is not a part of America. It's actually a foreign entity. It's a corporation that sits on the hill that's enslaving the people. My question for you is this. The constitutional sheriffs are going into Washington, which has a whole other set of rules and laws and standards they have set for themselves, which is nothing but lawlessness. My question would be this. Will they acknowledge the Constitution that the sheriffs are upholding as valid concerning the documents and warrants for arrest? What say you?
Well, I can answer that in two ways, but can I make a comment first to you about something? Because it goes along with the flip side of all these, or what do you call it, protests that's going on, okay? Earlier, about 6 months ago, there was a shooting here that most people never heard of or saw. And this was a gentleman who was drunk. I have no argument there. But he was handcuffed and he's in a wheelchair. He's under police protection or police custody, and because of him flailing his arms in a wheelchair, handcuffed, he was a danger to him, and he shot and killed him. Now explain, where's the outcry for it?
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
So as far as I'm concerned, all these protests are stupid, if you know what I'm saying.
Well,
there's a couple others I can mention that stupid is just stupid.
My concern is this, sir. If the constitutional sheriffs upholding the oath to the original documents walk in with paperwork based off those original documents into Washington, D.C., which has its own set of rules, and they govern themselves by the de facto Constitution, the corrupted Constitution, will they see themselves as in trouble, if you will, and under arrest, or will they, in fact, laugh it off as some kind of a joke?
No, they no. This is something I've already shared with a couple people, and I'll share it again, is that they have to acknowledge he has to allow them access to him. Okay? Because under the Constitution, there's only three people of law enforcement that have full authority, and that is sheriffs, the U.S. Marshal and Provost Marshal. Okay? Everything else, the Secret Service was not even thought about until the first shot was heard around the world. Okay? Then actually, they're under the Department of Treasury. Okay? So they have to allow them in and have them, serve what paperwork, if being warrants, indictments, whatever, they have no choice. Now, if they do not, and they say, okay, or whatever, this is where we, the people, including the militia, need to get involved and shut down D.C. and put a barrier around D.C. Okay? And that way, anyone that comes in or out of D.C., if you're a Congress, you work for Congress, you're any part of the government, you're immediately charged with treason the second you step on the ground of the United States soil.
Yeah, I haven't read their warrants, so I don't know how inclusive they are of everybody. I understand what you're saying, though, Keith, and I agree with that, but just within the parameters of their warrants, I haven't seen them, so I don't know how they're written. I don't know who they include. I don't know any specificities.
Right, but let's talk about the warrants a little bit, okay? And let's talk about what you're allowed under the Constitution to serve as a public servant, okay? If you have a misdemeanor charge, that's fine. You're allowed still to serve as a public servant. If you have a felony, high crimes, or treason, you are not allowed to be in any position. I don't even care if you want to be a janitor. You cannot be in a public servant position of any kind.
Yeah, we addressed a little bit of that a couple nights ago also. You know, because people brought up the birther circumstance with Obama. And I say, okay, and I know, we all know about the flaws and he won't verify. But let's just go ahead and let's let him have his little way and let him have his forgery and let it be accepted as legitimate. Well, then he has just fallen into the bed of the felonies that he committed earlier on in misrepresenting himself, acquiring loans as a foreign student, and all these other things that he did. So, okay, well then let's just go ahead and let him have his forgery, but then there's his felonies. So I understand what you're saying, but, we are definitely that's why I keep saying that any tipping point, whether we do it to the courts, whether we do it to these warrants, whether we just stand up again, however it goes, whatever the tipping point is, they're going to throw their hands up and say, okay, we've been playing a game and an act all along. We're actually taking over your country. We've almost completed it.
But see, the point I'm trying to get to that you're missing, sir, okay, is that they come in, the sheriffs, and they sit down and they ignore them, whatever, okay, and that's why I brought up the three, because at that point in time, they can bring in the provost marshal, the provost marshals.
Provost marshal, yeah.
Okay, the provost marshals have international laws. Okay, so they can bring him in, and if the provost marshal, if they don't want to accept the sheriff, provost marshal, there's your warrant. They have no choice but to accept, because at that point it becomes a world court. That comes out of the Hague.
Well, see, that's what
so
I was saying.
They have no choice in this situation.
No, I understand that. And before you come onto the call, I'd kind of addressed that people should watch to see how they respond or do not respond to it, because that'll show the true colors of what's happening. And I understand what you say about the Hague and the international law, but that's another trap that I don't necessarily want to fall into, because under our Constitution, we have the maximum ultimate remedy.
Oh, I know. I'm not arguing that point. I'm not arguing that point.
And given that we already have an inner... Go ahead. You just go.
I'm arguing the point with you, though. You got to understand that the 10 square miles of Washington, D.C. is owned by the Crown. That is foreign soil.
But you see, that's what they claim. And they do claim it as a foreign enclave. But then you have to go back and look at it, really. What happened is that we had our government houses, our republic. It was inhabited properly. And they had amenities and opportunities and privileges to create a capital and do all of these numerous things. But what they did instead was is that they abandoned the republic and they created a corporation, and then they incorporated the District of Columbia. So that's not even a lawful enclave. It's just a theft. It's like Walmart coming into a neighborhood and saying, oh, by the way, we own this whole neighborhood. No, that doesn't work. So even the premise of their foreign enclave, I don't play that because it's not valid.
And I agree. But unfortunately, the Crown does. That's our problem.
Well, but I don't care about the Crown. At this point, we have to stop caring about that and reacting to it. They all need to be on notice that this violation, if it goes to a full-on overthrow and they want to be complicit in it, then they put themselves up for the remedy as well.
Well, I agree. But see, if in order to do all that, though, then we need to wipe out and go as far to get rid of the American Bar Association. Because that's part of the Crown.
Well, you have to get away from the
Federal Reserve. You have to get rid of the IRS. It's all part of the Crown.
Well, yeah, but then when you restore the constitutional republic, you don't have to worry about all of this thing and that.
Oh, I agree. I'm not arguing. I'm just talking about the situation right now.
Well, yeah, but the situation we're facing right now is that they're ready to go.
Wait, gentlemen, I'm sorry. If you'll just hold on one moment, I don't want my callers to hang up. We have another caller. Hold that thought because I'm going to let you pick back up on it. Area code 602, who's on the line? Area code 602, who's speaking? The white flour sugar enters the bloodstream within minutes and causes... Hello? Area code 602.
Somebody in Arizona.
Yeah, that's me.
Hi, you've got some background noise. Who am I speaking with?
This is Karen.
Hey, Karen, how are you doing, sis? Have you been listening in?
I just started listening in just a few minutes ago.
Hi, Karen.
Okay, we'll let the gentlemen continue with their discussion, and then I want to get your thoughts on what they're speaking on. They're talking about constitutional law, how effective the sheriffs may or may not be serving warrant in Washington, D.C., and what the possibilities are that we're looking at. D.C. in itself is its own entity owned by the Crown. It's not American oil.
Well, I know that.
Their own little fortress that they built up for themselves there, and we were discussing what may or may not happen concerning the sheriff serving papers when they get to Washington. Okay, Keegan, we got her up to speed, and still in.
First off, Keith, I just want to say that I totally and 100% agree with you and highly appreciate you. I just the only reason I was standing on the position that I was about this being invalid and that we can't react to it, especially individually, is that when we keep addressing these issues separately or as whole groups of different things instead of the source problem itself, they are achieving a greater usurpation against us than we are mounting resistances. We can't get enough resolve in one area while they overrun 1,000 areas. And the only way I can see at this particular point, especially with the imminent threat, is to just go to the cause of the problem and solve that. And then whatever mess is left afterward, we can start, finishing the sweep up.
Well, I agree. I was not arguing the point. I was just sitting here talking about variables of options that we have. If one part does not work, then we have other options and other directions we can go.
Yeah.
That was because if you really truly read and understand the Constitution itself, there is checks and balances for everything that it has in there. And that's the nice thing about it, and that's why I'm sitting here saying, if this does not work, here's another check that we can go through. Here's a way to make sure it's balanced. If that doesn't work, we have another check here. That's what we're trying to get the point across to.
Right. No, I got that. I know that already. But I also know that we're at that point past that where when they abandoned the proper house, the republic, they left the Constitution in it as well. And they're really not operating by it. Now, they'll play little walk-arounds and they debate it like they have that's their job, is to debate it or to limit our rights rather than to protect them. But that it's not really of their honor, their intention, their purpose, their concern, their care their respect any of it. None of it is.
Well,
and that the tipping point will cause them at some point to either admit it or so thoroughly violate it that it's an all or nothing at that point.
Well, I agree. And this is why the one of the points I was going to get to is most people do not know and understand. Let me ask you a question. I'm not asking this to insult you or anything else. I'm just asking.
Don't worry about insulting me. I respect you too much to be insulted. I might be on the spot or not know an answer, but I won't be insulted by you, Keith.
Okay. Do you know how many countries the Crown actually has and controls?
Well, how many countries are listed now?
No. How many countries the Crown actually has and controls?
Well, that's what I was asking the question. How many countries are actually listed now? You can just separate a few of them and consider them at the head of all the rest.
The point is, how many do they actually control?
I would like to ask Karen. Karen, do you have anything to add to this discussion on the subject of
212.
DC?
No, 120.
Okay.
The Crown actually controls 120 countries. Okay, and I bring this up, and there's a piece of this why I'm bringing this up, and then it goes back to that our IRS, for instance, is not ours. It actually supports some 23 countries through in the Crown. And another example with that, if you read the whole deal, there's no law that says we have to pay taxes.
Well, no, of course.
It only says we is a volunteer deal.
Yeah, I've been fighting that battle directly, and have been without benefits since 1984 when I reestablished my citizenship status. Not to be the citizen. So I mean,
right.
But I understand that, but it's.
So what the point boils down to, though, is we have to understand that when this happens, the steps we may have to take is we may have to pull in the provost marshals and have them and take their steps because they can do what the sheriffs cannot do. But the sheriffs cannot be denied, even on foreign soil, they cannot be denied to be allowed to serve them.
But, see, that's what I'm saying. And that's why everybody needs to watch closely to see how their presentment is responded to, because it is lawful, and they're required to respond lawfully to it. So, but I suspect that it won't be, and that should be the good indicator for everybody. Now, as far as the Crown goes, they sit within that head, that global head, the top elite crown of the head. Right. And so when you say, like, how many countries do they rule, I don't care if there's 120 listed within their D&B structure, there's actually more, but the point is this. If they get America, they capture the whole world. If they lose America, they're going to lose the rest of the world. That's the reason I brought it up. That's the very reason I brought it up. Well, yeah, we know that. So the tipping point.
Bill, excuse me. I need to ask you guys to yield one more time. We have other folks trying to call in. I want to make sure we hear from them. You can hold on one moment. Hold that thought. Hate to interrupt.
I have to mute.
Great discussion.
I have to mute, so I won't be gone. I'll be muted.
Aaron code 860. Who's on the line? You're live on the Rage.
Hi, that's me.
Did somebody
say rage?
Pardon?
Did somebody say rage?
Rage against regime. Is this Bobby?
No, this is Ben. How are you, sweetie?
Hi, hey Ben. Yeah, we're on here raging. We're more discussing at the moment, but this is open mic rage today. You guys just let it rip because our time is nigh, and we're about to see some really horrible things occur here. I believe in the next week, and definitely in the month of December. We have Keith and Bill. We're discussing law and how the sheriffs headed to Washington might serve the paperwork that was filed for issuance of warrant.
Right. Okay. Well, I already discussed that with somebody who's talking with Sheriff Mack, And I don't know if my suggestions are going to get through or not. But I've got his number. So if you guys have like anything concrete, send him my way. Becky, you got my Facebook. Send him my way. Yeah. I've got the dude's phone number. He's talking to Sheriff Mack and all the whole group.
How many?
That's this week, right?
How many sheriffs do we actually have that are scheduled?
I do not know. It started with one sheriff. Was that in Texas? It might have been in Texas. And then it kind of grew, and then Sheriff Mack got involved. I heard so. It grew. I don't know how big it got.
Well, I've had word that there's 17 thus far, and that was last week. It may have grown by then. Then I heard they weren't serving warrant, but they were actually going to let Congress and the usurper know that the people have had enough. And then I heard that there was actual warrants, which gave me some light of hope.
Right.
But serving warrant and apprehension are two different things, and we all know that they govern themselves under the corrupt Constitution, and everything else is meant. They're completely lawless. We know that they're a protected fortress. It's foreign soil. But at this point, I really don't give a shit. I don't care if it's foreign.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mistake me. I cannot speak for this group. I'm not authorized to speak for this group. My impression was that it was going to be symbolic because they will not be able to serve a warrant physically. They will not be able to get close enough. So they'll basically be bringing a warrant in their pocket and not being able to serve them is what it seems to me.
Do they not have the right to walk into the Congressional Mall, Keith, under the same law or respect as a citizen addressing the House?
Yes, they do, because they have a right to walk in and sit in the galley, and if they or the speakers talk about or whatever from the House or Senate, and they are talking about something, you want to talk about something, you have a right to address and say, "Excuse me, Speaker of the House, point of call," and they have to address you. They have no choice but a procedure of their procedure to address you, and they have to give you at least a minimum of 5 minutes.
Sounds
if not,
good
they're up for treason.
Sounds good to me. Wonder if they'd like to deputize me real quick. I'd like to go in.
You don't have to be deputized. It's called a citizen arrest. You have a right as a citizen to arrest anyone you want to, as long as everybody breaks the law.
Yeah.
Well, don't get me excited. It's Saturday. Don't get me excited like that. I'm old.
Oh, come on now. You ain't that old. I'm going to come up with a little badge for you if you need it. I mean, I'm sure that can be arranged. But yeah, I'm just raging about the cowardice on display. I'm seeing a lot of it, and from down the pike, what's coming at us, it doesn't look good. These people are so cowardly and weak. It's tense.
Right. You're right. You hear me complain about it all the time. I do,
right.
Ben. See it. You see me. I'm like, and I love my veterans. God bless each and every one of you. I love you with everything inside of me. I stand behind you, beside you, in front of you, or whatever it takes to get this done. Obviously, I've painted a target on my head the size of Texas. So my point is this. Please don't continue to tell me that you're going to uphold the oath against foreign and domestic if you're not actually going to do something off of the keyboard and outside of the House. I respect your service if you are active duty. I understand your position and your hands may be tied in that area. Those that are no longer active duty, I respect what you've done for the country. But right now, buddy, I need you more than I ever needed you in my life. The war is on my soil. America is under attack, and it is orchestrated by our own rogue government. The war is already on. Tell me you got to wait for the first shot. Buddy, the first shot has been fired. Under a caliber. Right now. He's in the White House. They're all over the country. Percent up to 75. NSA, give me some crap. Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me?
But I can hear you.
I need you to quit telling me. I don't need your lip service. I need boots on the ground. At this point, we should have already organized well enough to go in and exercise our constitutional right. Everybody's terrified. Well, we're going to be an anarchist or a domestic terrorist. Listen, the law is specific concerning tyranny. If it is not removed by the channels of command that have been put in place in order to do so, we are it. And it is your constitutional right and your duty as an American individually to be your own leader, to set your feet on the ground, to go up and fight for your prosperity and your future. Sorry, I was raging. Are you guys agreeing with me, or am I all alone in my rage?
You're not alone. You're not alone.
Yep, you're not alone.
You know, I'm tired of it. It pisses me off. I watch daily. I spend 70, 80, sometimes 90 more hours a week alone trying to wake America up, doing talk shows back-to-back, round tables back-to-back, research all night long, all day long, first thing on my mind. First thing on my mind when I get up is I want to kick somebody's ass, and I want to have a cup of coffee. When I'm finished with my coffee, I'm ready for the first. You know, I'm tired. I feel like I'm spinning my wheels, and America is not doing anything. They love me and give me attaboys, and, man, have I got a following now and people picking me up to stream me with connections you wouldn't believe. And that's fantastic, but I don't want notoriety. I want action.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people have gone to Washington for this protest or that protest, and we've seen how much good it does. They don't really give a damn. They don't care what we think. They don't care what we say. They're ruling by the gun, and it may come down to that kind of response. Okay, talking isn't getting anywhere. It may come down to opposing force with force.
Well, I've done everything I can to bring resolution, not revolution, and the government follows everything I do. Hell, they confiscate some of our shows, call in Blog Talk and tell them not to air me live, and this has actually happened. This is not even fiction or propaganda. This is truth. Okay. Now, at the end of the day, talking's great. I love my family. I've made some fantastic family and friends, some great and strong leaders. Everybody has ideas. Most of them have a flaw somewhere. And we have tried to round table, open mic discussion so that we can all get together and find a lawful way to deal with this. I certainly don't want to see my grandkids or my kids being raped, beheaded, and believe me, that's going to happen. That's why these little camel ticks are here, The government has brought them in and just destroying countries across Europe doing the same thing. They're establishing the world domination and caliphate, and they're being used as the minions for the elite, the cabal, to do what they're doing, the genocide. It's because Muslims are pigs, period. There's no good Muslims. I hope you put that email over that or somebody IMing me, because I'll show you where I mean what I say and it's truth. But I'm telling you, we're in trouble. The battle is already here. My intel on the border tells me that over 200,000 Muslim prayer rugs have been found by Border Patrol and local authorities and even citizens on our side of the fence. Our borders are not even where they're supposed to be, lined in the sand. They're 45, 60, 100 miles in some spots inside American soil. That simply means this. By the time they get to the station to come on in, they're already on the soil, and they're protected by the executive orders that Bush and Obama put in place to give them every right as constitutionally, every right a citizen has in this country. The right to counsel, the right to an immigration court, housing, aiding and abetting under the Constitution. 34 is Article 1324, 836, Article 1324. It clearly states it's a felony, even by law enforcement or state officials, to give them a glass of friggin' water. It's a felony and to be arrested. And if an officer of the law does not arrest the guilty parties in government, it is a felony federal. It's a federal felony not to arrest those that are aiding and abetting in the treason and the tyranny and the invasion. What the hell, people?
They don't care.
What the hell?
They rule by the gun. Becky, that's it. Where there is no law. There is no law. They rule by the gun. That's all.
I can't stand it, Ben. I can't stand it. It makes me crazy, angry, just pissed off. Man, I'm getting gray hairs over this. I'm 999 years old, but I only look 90 now. Oh. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's starting to feel like that. It's starting to feel like that. It's starting to affect, listen, families have been destroyed, torn apart because of these politics, because of the division in the country that is being propagated by these pigs in government and the likes of NAACP and Jesse Jackson. You slimy little bastard. You're not a reverend. You're devil's minion. Al Sharpton, criminal, $5 million he owes to the IRS, and he's having dinner with our Congress in the Senate dining room, and shaking hands and butt buddies with the usurper, the little Mo cockroach up there in Washington, Obama. Insane Obama. But you know what I'm saying? It's just ridiculous. Families have already been destroyed. Lives have already been lost. We lose more lives in America at the hands of illegals that come across that border, and I hate to call them that. They're foreign invaders. It's a war. It's a declaration of war. And we lose more lives in America at their hand than we lost soldiers in a 12-year Iraqi war. People, let that sink in. Look at the lives that have been destroyed. Listen, if I go into a bank, and I don't pull the trigger, but my partner pulls the trigger, or even if I'm driving the car and they go and they kill somebody, we get caught. What do you think happens to me?
Accessory.
It's called accessory. I get charged with the same charge. It's a murder charge, and I'm going to face a sentence of death most likely, or imprisonment without parole. Now, understand this. Obama opened those gates. Our Congress opened those gates. Our governors opened those gates. For a lack of a better term, they're federal whores. They've been whored out for federal funding, and they bend over backwards to kiss the ass to remove the sovereignty in your own states by way of the almighty dollar, okay? We are losing lives, being destroyed. They're accessory to murder. Are they not?
Right. Well, I'm just...
Are they not an accessory?
Look, there's a gangster that's sitting at the top of Department of Justice. Eric Holder oversaw the genocide at Waco, and when the Attorney General was Janet Reno, wasn't that Eric Holder in charge of that operation when they murdered him?
Yep.
I mean, you can't expect justice when you've got Al Capone at head of the Department of Justice. So, I mean, what's even the point? I mean, just lock and load. Let's roll. Let's get her done.
Well, yeah, and technically, you're legally able to do that at the moment because of the fact that this country is being taken over by conquest. And under the Constitution, that's what happened with the War of 1812. The British tried to take this country back by conquest. What happened? We don't need an excuse. We have it all right there in front of us. Constitution's already given us permission. Let's go for the shots. The thing is that what makes it so all we got to do is we actually need to let the government take the first shot. They really don't have to worry about it.
I want to do that. They already have. Listen, anytime government... Listen,
but they won't allow. They don't accept that, though. We have to actually physically...
It doesn't matter what they accept.
Hold on.
Right.
This is not 1976. This is 2014. Everybody has in their mind the government has to take the first shot. You want me to tell you what the first shot was? I just told you.
Oh, I know. I'm not arguing that point. I'm not arguing that point, but...
First shot. Legally, that's the first shot. War has been declared American public by its own government. Over 300 documented incidents of military and police on the Mexican border firing across, and there has been loss of life during those firefights.
Oh, I know.
No declaration of war was declared by our own friggin' government to retaliate.
I agree. But see, again, it goes back to the discussion we had the other day. It's called complacency and lack of education.
Well, I don't mean to raise my voice, but I get so enthralled and I'm so passionate about this. Listen, and if that's not enough, and it goes back to what Ben opened with, and that is his disdain for the complacency that we're witnessing in America, the lack of courage and complete cowardness and excuses for every reason why you can't get into Washington if you're an able-bodied person, and surround Washington and do what needs to be done. Is there going to be loss of life at the end of the day? Probably, because they're going to fire on us. We already know that. All right? But at the end of the day, it's everybody's individual responsibility to get up, get out, get down there. When we have more protesters organized by this government to enact and complete an agenda of martial law, marching and outnumbering us in Washington sometimes 300 and 400 to 1, it's pathetic. Marching over a thug that they have given a martyrdom status to because an officer had to defend his own life and take a life. It's bullshit.
Right. And can I comment on that real quick? Not the case in Ferguson, but the case in New York City. Eric Garner, the gentleman who was who deceased. The
chokehold deal. Yeah.
Right, the big guy. Well, I'm just amazed at the cowardice of New York City police officers. Okay, are you telling me there's not an old sergeant who remembers David Dinkins, Mayor Dinkins? Okay, that's what you've got right now in New York City. You've got the white version, David Dinkins, and NYPD. How cowardly are you? You're afraid to walk off? I mean, grow a set. Grow a set. You've got a communist at Gracie Mansion, and you're out there enforcing communism on the street, actually getting your hands bloody, mind you, getting your hands bloody for communism, and you think we're going to respect you, commie cop?
Right.
Walk off the job, tell the mayor to go stuff it. He just threw you under the bus in NYPD. Go set.
I agree completely. I've asked so
Becky,
much.
can you hear me or no?
Yeah, baby, go ahead. Go ahead, Bill.
Okay. Just before we get off of that one, just stay on that. Consider also that the situation in New York, that was a minor statute violation. At the worst case, the only thing that could be justified is that they summon him with a citation.
Exactly.
Period.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to submit to anything else except to take the piece of paper.
He had done them a favor by breaking up a fight.
Yeah.
Well, see, I'm concerned that the situation with the grand jury is being played out on purpose as well, because the grand jury is the people's judicial power, actually.
Yep.
What's a crime in the first place, and what should be done about it? Not the theater that's created beyond that, but the actual power that we have judicially, because it's the same power that we have to put any one of them, under the under law. Any judge, any official, anyone. And they don't really want us to have that. And they're making the Supreme Court to the 90% of the people out there who don't even understand what the Supreme Court is. Amongst us, most all of us do. They're trying to paint it to be some ridiculous thing that could never get leverage, never be allowed, never be considered, because it's the one area that they cannot, if it's done properly, and the more people that get involved, the more it will be done properly without anyone's influence in that room or those people in that room at all, unless they're being called by the jury themselves. And they just can't. That's one of those tipping point areas that we spoke of before. They can't allow that part of their whole scam and scheme to be overrun by us with the supreme power of a grand jury and how it can be used. The other problem is that they've put this false sea of admiralty maritime statute law over the common law and the natural law of the land where it doesn't belong. So, all of these laws, or you talk about legal this and legal that, and giving somebody rights for this and that and the other thing in these actions, they don't exist anyway. You've got to wash that sea right back out into the ocean where it belongs and let the land be re-inhabited under common and natural laws with the Constitution, and all these other games and all this ridiculousness, it just stops. It's over. How can they make a premise of something that doesn't exist? It's kind of like, if something doesn't exist, well, let's just pretend that it does and have all of you be affected by it. No, I'm sorry, but that doesn't work for me. It doesn't exist. And that's where we're getting to.
Well, 2 points with that. First thing is, do you know why common law is called common law, Bill?
What, with regard to sense and for the
no, just why it's called common law. No, just why it's called common law.
With the equality of every living, breathing person that is within it.
Right. It's called common sense.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Okay. And the second thing I was going to make comment, even before the Constitution, you touched on this, and that's why I'm bringing it up. Even before the Constitution, for some 50-plus years, this country was run strictly on common law.
Wait, say that again, please. Say that again, please.
Before the Constitution, this country was run on common law.
And natural, yes.
Yes. And so, again, this whole issue that's getting ready to happen this week, it again is, what's the natural law? Well, the natural law is you don't want to see the sheriff's vote. That's what the parole marshals are for. It's the check and balances there. I don't care how you want to talk about it. Even before the Constitution, there were check and balances, but people don't know them.
Well, but before that, we had the sergeant-at-arms as well who can do that same thing without getting an international body involved. That's what I'm saying. I think that we can do this and keep it completely and strictly within the original fabric and founding and have it done under the Constitution.
I agree.
It's just that they're not recognizing it, and it doesn't matter. And the thing is that the worst part is that, everybody, call it what you will and how far they're going to go, but ultimately, America is intended to be just part of a global territory, period. And international law is what, and of course, Kerry's all buddy-buddy to help accomplish this, but you have Obama speaking out openly within everything that he ever says about the submission to international law and all of that. And I would just assume stay away from it entirely because we actually don't need it. We want to be the influence and cause positive change in the world. We just need to disregard what they expect from us and show them what's possible for them.
Oh, I agree. I'm just talking about the options that are available to us. That's all I'm getting at.
Gentlemen, here's the problem. You've got a mole sitting as president, part of the Muslim Brotherhood, the Al-Qaeda, America, and some of those entities you're speaking about created ISIS, created the war. Obama set up on national and international broadcast TV, made his speech, referenced ISIS as ISIL, the L standing for bond, He
I wonder
gave
if
them
everybody understands what that meant.
That was the most blatant, in-your-face communication given to ISIS as a green light and go ahead to take the regions. And
you're the only other person I've heard actually speak of that.
The CIA, nobody did anything, so that tells you that they're all in it. But he sits as head of the Security Council on the UN, which is against the friggin' law. He cannot do that. Now you have to ask yourself, why did our government allow him to hold that seat?
Well, it's not our government, you keep going back to that. It's not our government really at all, and it hasn't been for a long time. And the corporation is in the end game, so they're not even really pretending to. Well, they are pretending still, but they're not even trying hard to pretend that they're our government anymore. They need to take this continent over, and that's what they're staged to do. And we're watching it, pretending that it's something else, or trying to act within bounds and structures. Well, if we were dealing with a legitimate government, there'd be all these different bounds and areas and all these wonderful approaches that we could take, and it would be embarrassing to some of them because it's like, hey, I'm your common guy up the street, and I'm having to correct you on this, and you're supposed to be our servant who's supposed to know all of this, but it's not that. It's not that. It is. It's fully formed with thickened walls as a fortress in preparation to take this continent over.
Yep.
You know what's going to finish us off? Ignorance. And I'm not calling people stupid. There's a difference. Ignorance is finishing us off, and it's the ignorance of lack of knowledge is what I'm trying to say. They don't understand, the population does not understand that you need to set your fear aside, and you need to understand that you have every right by law, because they're afraid they're going to become lawless or be deemed as lawless, for exercising the right to remove tyranny. People, stop already. Learn the Constitution, understand what your position is, and execute it. Am I right or wrong, gentlemen?
Prepare to go to war.
Am I right or wrong in that, though?
Well, you are, but prepare to go to war. We have to know what to restore, but you should be ready to go to war because they need to take this. They're not going to give up, I don't know how many hundreds of trillions of annual dollars are involved now, but it's substantial. They're just not going to give that up without a fight. But you have to look at the facts, and knowing the Constitution is really, really important. But I think that at the point we're at right now, mustering people up to recognize the need to defend themselves. And I don't mean the masses and everybody else, because they're just not going to get it, and they're not required to fix the problem. But all of us patriot people, whatever percentage we are, whether we're 1% or we're 18%, we better get real clear on the fact that, we know the Constitution, we'll put it to work later, but right now we need to prepare to take what's already been taken from us and is about to be declared as such, as a victory.
I agree. You'll not get me to argue with that. And we've tried every avenue, from millions and millions of phone calls to petitions, face-to-face meetings. We've done everything that we probably could to point out our grievances and be heard and have them addressed, and they have completely been ignored. They have generic emails they send back to you when you email them. They have one for every situation that is a current situation that their little flunkies sit down and write for them under a dictated note, and then they personalize it with your name whenever their little flunkies are in there doing their paperwork for them. Listen, enough is enough. You would honestly think, with what people are now seeing, that it would be in our favor as patriots, but it's really not. It's more harm than good, because if they can get a majority of the population to agree with them that we need some military force to step in, they're going to start calling martial law to secure their neighborhoods. And they're going to get martial law. Well, understand this, folks, if you don't know this, that are listening, martial law means that bastard gets to stay in office indefinitely until he lifts martial law.
Actually, you got to look at it like it is. It means that they're starting the physical battle portion of the takeover. All that other stuff's got to go. This guy is the head of a foreign body that's here to take us over. They go to martial law. We can't look at that staying in office, this and this and that, because it's not that. It's espionage is involved in all the other. If you want to get into the international stuff, but you know, all the highest forms of treason under the global view, that would be inclusive of espionage. It would be a takeover. Him staying in office isn't a point or a consequence. Losing America's entirety is a massive consequence, and it is the only reward that will save them the planet. Because if they lose us, they lose the damn planet. So you have to, people read the Agenda 21. Wow, they'll kill out of the 340 some odd million of us. Wow, they'll actually kill 260 million of us, maybe more. Well, yeah, why not? If it gives them a whole planet, what consequence or cost is that to them, in that we would be those who would oppose them or simply be a burden to them? You get all these people on the dole, it's not because they like them, it's because they've made them ineffective. And it's not that they're going to care for them, it's like they serve the purpose and they just, include them in the killing when they're done. So, depending on how many of us stand up and prevent this from being an easy walkover, whether we get states involved, we need to get these sheriffs involved. That's why I'm saying paying attention to the sheriffs in D.C. is important, because we watch them and we watch the reaction from the government. And if these sheriffs and other law enforcement people see that, wow, people are actually standing up for them doing the right thing, and then we go to the rest of them throughout the U.S. who aren't going to be in D.C. and start giving them assurances, as well as demand that we expect them to do and be of the same, and we're willing to stand behind them, we can get some additional support. We might not have all the support we need to all the states, but believe me, any one state or one county of that support is a massive enforcement or reinforcement on a position that some of us are going to have to hold. And we need to be able to hold all the positions across all the land. We go to one place and it's like our whole effort, it's like, wow, kind of lost the rest of the land then. Let's just put them there. Let's just put them there and use our biological warfare and kill 200,000, 2 million, 22 million, whatever, and we'll just go take the rest of the land behind them while they're getting sick and dying. Because it'll happen.
Bill, can I take another caller? I've got another caller calling in. 602 area. 602 area.
That's still me, Karen.
Thank you for calling back. Brought you. Karen, do you have anything to add to what the gentlemen are speaking about today?
There's not a whole lot I can add to it. Everything they say is true. I mean, I've heard a lot of people say you need to start at a local level. Well, the problem with that, at the local level, your cities, your council, you look under the secretaries of state, and they're all incorporated as corporations, nonprofit at that. They don't even pay tax. So, I mean, where are you going to start? It's got to go to the head.
Right.
Well, you can still get their support there.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Becky. I just have one last thing to say, and then I'll clear up the line. Sorry about that.
That's okay, Ben.
All right, here's my little final message here. So all the police, join us. It's not too late. Join with the people. Join with us now. Don't wait any longer. The feds are not your friend. They're going to do great harm to you. They might
and your families
at risk. The feds are going to put your life at risk. They do not wish you well. We are the only remaining fragment of the republic. That's it. The militia. We are all that's left. Join us before it's too late.
Amen,
Absolutely.
brother. I'm with you. And I have a brother who's a police officer in Irving, and I intend before I head out to Washington to stream live when the sheriffs get there, I intend to have a discussion with my brother. It's very vital that you have law enforcement in your family. You seriously need to sit down and talk to them and educate them on what's really going on. And I believe, Ben, that the militarized vehicles and equipment, the Kevlar and the armor-piercing ammunition and weapons that they have geared our police departments and gifted them with, I believe that they've been duped. That's a false sense of security, because clearly the DOJ and the Obama administration have now painted with purpose targets on the heads of all police officers across the country.
That's
Not
right.
just the whites, but all police officers.
And this is
they want to draw them into a side of a dispute rather than a settling of conflict.
Well, I think honestly, we have so many police departments, and many of them are not corrupt, and I'm going to repeat that to the citizens out there. We have some bad cops on the street. We also have some good cops. His intention is to do exactly what they should be doing, and I believe that this is going to be a way for them to be blindsided and taken out in order for the UN troops and the American troops that are foreign invaders and like-minded. We have soldiers right now that are enlisted in the military that worship Obama and Islam. So I believe that if the populace eliminates at least half of the police department by way of genetic defect mentally, and instigated hatred and injustice, which we're seeing across the country right now, I believe that those targets were painted with reason. Now, that's just me. That's just putting two and two together. But I believe I'm correct, because they would stand up for the people against the invasion, against the military.
Well, I think the military is going to actually step in and help us a lot as well, but it has to be, and there's deep-seated people definitely favoring our side of things, but they need to see us make a stand. They need to see this corporation pretending to be our government take the action on that, and then they can step in. You know, they do have Hague concerns, and they don't want to be seen as losing the total effectiveness as a military coup. But in defense of the people, in a declaration and a recognition of a coup already occurring and an attack by an insurrected corporation pretending to be the government against the people, they can step in every rightful position and do what needs to be done. And, you know, we talk about the diminishment of our military. Well, yeah, our forces have been diminished, but it's not the diminishment of our military so much as it is personnel who are still within a structure under its command, because those people didn't disappear. They still exist. They are just disenfranchised from that piece of their business plan. But they're here.
I believe they're under house arrest. Do you want to know why? I seriously think that, because we haven't had many of them step forward and reach out to the patriots to let us know that actually they want to help us resolve this situation. And I believe
they are, but they're just not coming out in the open as much. They're coming in more quietly within, even within the Oath Keepers and with other groups and with other places on the internet, but not on Facebook. They're there in other ways. But you know, you have to let the shaft fall to the ground and see what your bundle of wheat is before you expose what you got. You know, we have a lot of good officers that are ready to step in, and you have a lot more retired or non-active military that are really there. And I'm sure there's a big chunk within also still that at some point that any respected high-standing officer who makes his actual declaration to fix the problem instead of being part of it, we're going to see a lot of support, but it won't matter. It won't make a difference. It won't be enough if we don't do this.
469
as well.
469. Who's calling? 469 area code. Who have I got? Hello? Area code 469. Area code 469. Last time. 469. Who's calling in? You're live on the Rage.
Maybe walked away from the phone.
Possibly. I'm just putting back on mute. Area code 716. Who's calling?
This is Rob.
Hey, Bob. What do you have to add to all of this, brother? You've been very silent. So what?
I like to listen and take things in, but I put up a post or I commented on one of your posts a little while ago, and I think you know my position. I don't think we're going to see anything. What's that?
I agree with your position.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, everything that I see, and believe me, I'm an old-timer like you, 100-plus years old, that everything I've seen over the years, the decades, that the only thing that's going to stop this is for us to actually shut the government down and actually go in and clean house and gut all the traitors and say we start fresh again with the original Constitution. Otherwise, all the bickering that's going on, the whole episode with the border, what our government does, what our government doesn't do, nothing's going to change it except for us to step up as we the people, shut the government down and gut it. We've got too many traitors out there. Rand Paul, Trey Gowdy, the names are endless. Pelosi, Reid, all of them. You know what? They're playing their own game for their own benefit. They're raping this country. They're stuffing their pockets, and it's called screw the people. They're playing with the New World Order. They're playing with the Agenda 21 issues, and they're all being controlled by the rich and elite that said, okay, this is the next move. This is what you got to do. This is the disruption next to that. It's like Ebola. It's like ISIS or is. All distractions, they create these distractions so people all of a sudden forget about Benghazi. They forget about the IRS. They forget about Lois Lerner. And they create a new thing, a new problem, a new headline, and people suddenly are looking at what's going on today instead of what have we just gone through that hasn't been answered yet or hasn't come to a conclusion. So they keep pushing more bullshit down people's throats and confusing people, and in the meantime, they're continuing to build their forces, and I'm sure that there are thoughts or plans on the books to bring in the UN troops to say, martial law, we can't control the situation, we need a one-world government. That all goes to play with New World Order, the North American Union, Mexico, United States, and Canada. Canada might be silent. You hear very little about Canada, but the Mexico and United States, major headlines for decades. It's been going on for decades. Do we have any one of our politicians in the last 20 or 30 years that has stepped up to the plate and said, we need to stop this, we need to control this? No, it's all bullshit. It's all smoke and mirrors.
Any one of them could become an Eric Snowden at any time they choose.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
They should, or they'll get no grace when it comes time to judgment.
Absolutely, I totally agree. It's... Go ahead, Becky.
I said the judgment is coming.
Oh, it is coming. It's coming.
Get people up out of their houses, off of the keyboard. And I'm not talking about prepping because, quite frankly, prepping's a great idea, guys. It really is, and it needs to be done. But at the end of the day, if you think for 1 minute that with the technology that is present today, that you're going to be safe and you're going to be able to hide or fend off for more than about a minute, you are sadly mistaken.
No, I wouldn't totally agree with that. There are a lot of people that are off-grid that are very hard to track. Their movements, their purchases are very hard to track. So the majority-wise, yeah, I'd agree with that. If you think you're going to go out and buy up 10 cases or 100 cases of MREs, and it's on your MasterCard, your Visa, yeah, the government knows exactly what you're doing. They know exactly where your residence is. They know exactly where your little campground is. all the technology is gone towards tracking people's every movement. Cell phones, the whole
listen, they're allowing these people that false sense of security, because at the end of the day, unless you're a true survivalist and warrior, you're screwed. I don't care how many videos you've watched. If you haven't been out doing them every day until it becomes a muscle memory, you're done. How many do you really you can survive in the wilderness? Is something. Let's just be methodical. Oh, my God, they find your camp. You got to get up and haul ass, and you better hurry up and move it, buddy. You better shake a stick. You got your family in tow, and you're in fear for your life, and your stuff has already been unpacked because you didn't know that you should just take a little bit out, don't take it all out, and then you're hauling ass, and now you find yourself in a situation where you've got 2 or 3 family members, a little kid or something, maybe an elderly individual, not so well, spouse. Now you start running into dehydration, you get weaker and weaker, and then you run into starvation and you die. Or you're moving too slow and they catch you anyway. That's the reality.
Well,
I don't mean I don't sound like, woe is me or to deflate somebody's ego out there, but this is the truth.
How many of the people here in this group have utilized the Freedom of Information Act to get access to FBI files on themselves or done any of that?
Boy, you ought to see mine.
Well, the reason I bring it up is that you guys haven't seen me on TV. You haven't seen me listed as the head of an international corporation. I haven't been involved in any substantial events that have been recorded. Yet, when I get my file from the FBI, I did this 19 years ago, I guess it is now, it looked like a Blue Book file, a UFO report. It was so redacted and entirely blacked out that there was no point in reading it. Now, this is just me, and this is 19 years ago. This is 19 years ago.
You bad boy. Hey, Ron, Gentry, are you on the line?
Yeah, I am.
Ron.
Just listening now.
Go ahead, baby, rage. Ron's got something he wants to share he's pretty pissed off about. Go ahead, buddy.
Is this
Go ahead, Ron.
FCC? Is this FCC controlled?
No, man, you got any expletive you like to use?
I'm about fucking tired of the son of bitches sitting there saying, oh, these are all bad cops, bad cops. Well, hell, if the son of bitches would have complied, they wouldn't have died.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Absolutely.
All right. That's what I'm pissed about.
How do you feel about all these riots and organize these protests? How do you feel about that?
Oh, them cocksuckers can kiss my ass. Sorry. Let me rephrase that.
You go on and tell them it's just words. You're good.
I never heard such remarks.
There might be a few more bleeps before I'm done.
Ron, if we got up there
Yes.
and purged ourselves in court, seriously, or during an accusation of eyewitness testimony, we would be so far into the friggin' jail cell, wouldn't even be funny. Because these Negroids got up there and lied, and then recanted their statements. Hell, some of them weren't even there, didn't witness anything. They were just there to stir up poop, right? They're not going to go to jail. How about that? How about that little Negroid, that stepfather who didn't have any hand at all in raising the thug, right? He just happened to be doing his mama because the grandparents raised the kid, getting up there and saying, burn this mother effer down and burn this bitch, burn it to the ground, and ruin lives and ruin businesses and devastated the financial infrastructure of that town. And they still haven't put the little Negroid in jail. Why? Because he's colored.
He's colored and they're scared.
Well, because he served his purpose well. He did his job that he was assigned to do.
Absolutely.
Whether it was by manipulation or by script, it doesn't matter. He did specifically what they wanted. Just like Mr. Sharpton. just like Mr. Sharpton.
Yeah. Don't call him
and his
Mr.
buddies.
He's a mag. You say maggot Sharpton, sir, when you're on my phone.
Yeah, but inside my mind, not coming across my lips are far worse things.
I can imagine they are, sir. I agree with. Probably connected to you well in that area.
It's really bad, and it's graphic.
I know. Hey, I gotta tell y'all something, right? You know how I am. I call a dog, and you know, I from time to time let the N-word slip out of my mouth, just for the new listeners out there or anybody else that's listening, waiting for me to say it, so you can write a nasty email to Bobby Ritter, my host, the owner of this show. I got something for you, okay? Listen to this. So somebody got pissed off. I told people not to use the word wetback because it offends the Hispanic population. Now, anybody that's Mexican-American understands fully that wetback means any sumbitch that comes across that river without invitation, and it don't matter what their skin color is or what country they're from, they're a wetback, right? So they didn't use wetback on the last time I held this open mic. They used mud brown. Now, that pissed somebody off. And I called the thugs instead of niggers, I called them negroids, okay? And so they write Bobby this nasty little email. Y'all are a bunch of racists, and y'all said this, and Becky said negroid. I'm going to tell you something, folks. Listen, negroid or nigger describes a culture. It's not a color, and they come in all colors. See, it's perfectly okay for society to say wigger when you're referencing a white person who thinks they're black, and nobody gets all up in arms about that. And nobody gets in arms about us being called crackers, but don't say wetback. Listen, we have patriots among us that are of color. They're mixed. They are Hispanic, Mexican Americans, and those people I hold the utmost esteem and respect for. And they know fully where, those people who know me know fully where, they're fully aware. They know full well that I'm not a racist individual. I just don't like scum and I don't like invaders. Period. If that pisses
Has George
somebody
Carlin
off,
been dead that long?
Pardon?
Has George Carlin been dead that long?
Yeah,
these people obviously wouldn't have had thick enough. Yeah, these people wouldn't have had thick enough skin to hang with the crowds that I grew up in because we could whip each other better than anybody.
Well, you know, my point is this. I have callers out there that I lose or that doesn't want to follow me any longer because I'm painfully truthful or because I use descriptive verbiage when addressing the problems that we're having and the people that they're coming from. You know what? I do not apologize. I'm not going to apologize, but if you'll send me your address, I will send a UPS truck for your butt hurt with some hemorrhoidal cream and in the form of icy hot, okay? I'm just saying.
We did that when I was growing up. We actually did that when I was growing up to guys in the locker room, so we're not beyond that.
You know what I'm saying?
Nowadays, you got to send them a cookie. Send them a cookie and tell them to put themselves in timeout.
Yeah. You know, Becky, you have to. I guess at this point, you just have to kind of consider if you have to slow your forward progression down in order to keep people hanging on. It's just better to cut them and let them fall where they do, and keep your progression going forward. You know, we think we're leading, and some of us are, but I assure yourself that. Blazing a trail and going forward. When we get to where we're going, there will be other people already there.
I had somebody
but we won't get there. We won't get there if we keep ourselves slowed down these other people. And that's not to say that, in their waking up that they won't come around at some point, and they'll get there too. But nobody's going to get there if we hold ourselves back to the minimalist of us all, and try to make everybody happy.
You know what, Bill? I'm a Christian. I belong to the Lord. I just have some foul language now and again that creeps out of my carnal man. But here, at the end of the day, I'm still Christian. God doesn't hate me for it. He knew I was going to say it before I said it, for God said that he knew every hair on my head even before the foundation of the earth. So he knew who I was and who I could crack, and who would make exception. And I have guardian angels. I have an apostle that he regularly prophesies over me, comes to me, prays over me, calls me on the phone. I have a gentleman, God bless him, he sends me scripture every morning because he knows I need it, and to contain my rage and put me in check so that I have the manna of the Lord every day. It just because I cuss doesn't make me not a Christian. It makes me not an exemplary Christian, okay? But I'm human. I'm human, and I'm pissed off, and much like I write, if anybody's read any of my writings, I am very passionate and descriptive, and I can paint the picture with my tongue or with a pen, much like D'Angelo did with a paintbrush, you know. Michelangelo, I'm sorry, not D'Angelo. Michelangelo, you know, I'm an artist. I have a way with words. I can paint you a picture that you wouldn't believe with this tongue, and I think that's why God put me where he put me. So if anybody out there is butthurt by this, please feel free to I won't attack you. I'm not that kind of person, unless you're Dinah Saber. And if you're listening to this, I'm going to tell you something, you little wench. I don't know you. I have never known you. I've never had a discussion other than the attack you put on me in a personal message on Facebook under 3 different profiles every time I blocked you for having governor in the middle of my name when I was running for the governorship for the state of Texas. Dinah, you better shut your puke hole because I'm about to fall all over you with a defamation suit. Shut your damn mouth. You don't know me. Quit lying and quit telling people I'm a Fed. If I'm a Fed like this, so shut your damn mouth. If you're listening to me or one of your friends are listening, take it back to her and tell her I said so.
Hey, Becky, can you get me an unredacted copy of my record?
You know what?
I'm just kidding.
You know what?
Can you get me an unredacted file from the FBI for me? I'm kidding.
Yeah, absolutely. What can I do for you, sir?
Yeah, right.
You know what
I just want the unredacted version, please.
I got this wench out there, keeps running her mouth. Even Jack Person came to me today on one of my threads, and he goes, Becky Dinah Saber is running her mouth about you. I ought to hear all the stuff she says and trashes you. I get that all the time. You know, Bobby Shahan sent me screenshots of all the trash shit she was talking. You know what, Dinah? Bite my ass and shut your mouth. You're just jealous. You're jealous because I'm better looking. I'm a hotter cougar. I have more recognition, and people love me. Get over it. Okay, I'm.
More?
What?
More?
What?
You're just getting on a roll.
I just wanted to slap her around her ears for a minute. I can.
It's Saturday. I know you're just getting wound up.
You know, I don't attack people. I really don't. And I've let it lie, and I don't trash her all over my wall. I think once or twice I've told her to shut up on my wall, but she's got me blocked, so she won't see it anyway.
We'll call when you did a massage then.
She better hope when the shit hits the fan that she's not anywhere near my group because I'm going to give her WWF, all right? You know what a WWF is, don't you?
Yeah, I'm more of the MMA guy, but yeah.
She better leave me alone. I'm sick of her harassing me and running her mouth about me. See, it's people like her and Mr. Kessler who are out there with purpose to slander the leaders in the community and the real patriots who are out here trying to organize and get things together and get the truth out to people. They're out there trying to do collateral damage and run people off and make idiots who will actually listen to her bullshit, who don't know me either, go out and spread bad trash so that they can disrupt the movement. Well, see, now that's an unforgivable sin to me. That's a sin that'll get you hurt. Whenever the shit hits the fan, you'll answer for your insurrection.
Yeah, people don't vet individuals any better than they vet information.
Oh, Jesus Christ. We got some idiots out there.
Yeah.
You know, let's just get together as patriots, take care of the business, you got a beef with me after that, take it up with me. But right now, we need to work together. That's the bottom line. We have to agree to disagree. We have to put our jealousies and our insecurities aside. We need to step up to the plate and be the adults that we are supposed to be. I mean, my God, I'm grown. I'm past 13. You know, I'm past 18. Let's just grow up and do this thing together, and let's save this country and quit being a dumbass.
Yeah. Well, you know, that's why I like, which is kind of important that we get to that point, too. I like the plan within the Oath Keepers of the community preparedness teams, and there's still a lot of separation between different militias in them, but I think it's time that people, and especially the militia that may be at odds with the Oath Keepers, to take the opportunity to have their influence on the Oath Keepers as much as to allow the Oath Keepers' influence on them, and all of us unite, because they've done one good thing that's really, really, really important, and that's the community preparedness teams. So if everybody gets on board with that, the majority of the community preparedness teams will be individual, independent, non-actual member Oath Keeper patriots anyway, or almost entirely militia individuals. But we start integrating and start getting some unity, and whatever other militias are into serving the purpose of being a leader of something rather than an actual asset to resolving successfully the restoration of our constitutional republic and the protection of our families, we'll find that unity is vital. It's crucially important right now. And since I already have an organized structure, it doesn't mean you have to form under it, but you can form alongside of it, you can form within it, you can form under it, you can form however you want, but just connect to it. Connect to it, because then you become also part of a radio network. You become part of a radio network as well. You need to get to that point now, because this other ridiculousness, if you don't recognize that you're coming into a war right now, man, it's unfortunate.
Well, you know, the sad thing is this, and you know, I'm sorry about my rant on Donna, but not really, and I really shouldn't do it on public air, but while it was on my heart and I keep getting these messages, I wanted to bring it up because it's a situation that a lot of us are singled out, or one that this is happening to, but the egotistical sword fighting that everybody is doing, and I'm speaking specifically about the militia Oath Keeper issue. You know what? Notoriety. Listen, I'm not looking for notoriety. I just happen to have it. But notoriety is not important. It's not. I'm no better than anybody else. I just do something different. You know what I'm saying? I have never been, even in my employees, I never looked down on them and thought, well, I'm the boss and it's my business. I look at them as they are my business. I am a part of their business, and we grow together. And seriously, that's how you succeed. Nobody is better than anyone else. We just have different assignments. We have different arenas and different passions. And until we come together collectively and everybody quit trying to be the chief, so to speak, or the head of, and they refuse to submit to suggestive action, or they're afraid that they'll lose their control to some degree.
Their domination over other individuals. This is what we're trying to get away from.
We got to quit that. We really have to quit that. Listen, if Dinah, you heard me go off on her, but if Dinah was standing beside me and I knew she was a patriot and we were going to fight a war together, I'd keep one eye on her because she's a snaky bitch. But at the same time, I would defend her life. I would still stand beside her and fight. Because at the end of the day, that's the business at hand we need to address. All personal issues need to go out the window. Do you agree? You know what I'm saying?
Of course. We've been asking for that for so long now. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I keep an eye on her. I wouldn't let her walk behind me with a loaded weapon, you know. But at the end of the day, I would defend her. I would fire my weapon or take on a hand-to-hand combat situation if her life was in jeopardy. And that's how we all need to think. Put your personal business aside, set your ego on the shelf, and let's just get this done. Let's form a coalition, get great minds think alike, get those great minds together. We all have flaws in our own idea of how we can resolve the situation logistically speaking. But if we put all of our minds together and we sit down, and we got a very short time span to get this done in, Bill, we sit down, get our minds together, and present our objective views as to how we may or may not be able to resolve this situation, how we can control or take back control of this country. Pardon me. Work out the flaws, because you may see something in my plan that I didn't see that may save lives. You understand? So,
and that what you just said is very important. And what you said is very important. You know, people sharing their plans, it's like, no, use my plan. No, use my plan. Hear every plan. And if somebody's in opposition to you and they choose to go into debate, that argument could expose greater opportunity for your plan, or it can provide alternatives altogether. But nonetheless, we have to venture and benefit from every possible opportunity instead of concluding everything so negatively and losing ground even on our own plan. It's just got to stop. It's ridiculous. You can get 10% positive result out of something, then you've gained 2% rather than losing 40%.
Absolutely. I agree completely, sir. And at the end of the day, you know, I get on here and I rage, and you know, for any new listeners out there, you heard me go off on my rant. That's what this is. This is Rage Against the Regime, open mic Saturday. Everybody comes on here, and we give some information, and we have some great discussions, and then other people just bitch. That's what we do. We rage. Somebody's got to we have a lot of family members that aren't on board with us. I've got people in my immediate circle that have spouses that don't want to hear it. They don't want them involved in it when they're around. They can't, they can't be actively involved, and they get shot down and can't vent or have a discussion. This is very stressful for me personally. I find that if I'm not careful, I'm a very social person, obviously. I find that if I'm not careful, I can become very recluse. You know, I'll get into a frame of mind where I just don't want to be around anybody because right now I have so much rage in my heart. I'm not a happy person, or I may not be good company. That's probably a better way to put it. And I become very reclusive. I have a roommate. I don't speak about politics all the time when she's home. She's only home maybe 7 days, 10 days out of a month. But she's family. I've known her 25 years. I call her mom and dad. You know, I call her brothers and sisters her brother's deceased, but I call them my brothers and sisters. I call them my nieces and nephews. You know, when you've been around family like that, you're family. I mean, when you grow up together, you're family. Natalie Choate is a prime example. My mom and her mom and my dad and her dad, they were best friends. We grew up since we were kids. She'll tell you right now, my sister, you know, I've known her 182 years. So at the end of the day, we're all family is my point. But we can't all vent our frustrations, our fears, and our angers. This is stressful. I have kids. I worry about them. I have grandkids. I'm worried about them. I don't want them to see what's coming. I want to protect them from that. And so it puts a passion in my heart to stand up, and I have a hard time understanding, Bill, why these people can't quit thinking about themselves and think more about their loved ones and do what needs to be done. Just come together, educate yourself. Don't take my word. Anything I give you on this radio show or on Bank Nurses U or on Meat and Potatoes or any Round Table or Moretti Underground, any Terry Dodge show, any time I'm on the air. Don't just take my word for it because you know that before you've seen me do the reference work and do the cross-reference work and verify everything and vet it out. Don't take my word for it. I really want you to dig in and see if you can find something I didn't find in it. Because that at the end of the day, collectively, is going to all of us to get the real truth. And I might have missed something. You know what I'm saying? I might miss something, Bill. Just like we were talking about. You know?
I hear you.
So for the listeners out there, listen, if you think that I'm blowing smoke or I'm a fearmonger or anything like that, I want you to go look it up. Just do your own research. But for God's sake.
I definitely don't think you're a fearmonger. That's definitely been what I've been accused of. But I just I look at the point and the source, and you know, I started doing certain studies when I was very young. I proclaim myself out in the open from time to time as being a profiler, but it's something I've done for a long time. I did it in high tech for 23 years while I worked in that as well. But it goes back before then when I started taking courses before I was old enough to be involved with these classes on Future of the Human Brain, working with Joe Hart out of UC Davis in the Dream Labs and doing a lot of different things. And, you know, peripherally, you know, you might not be paying attention to something, but when you get used to, I hear some really loud noise.
Hey, hang on, Bill. Let me a new call. Caller 276, you're on the air. Who have I got?
Just listening.
Oh, who is this that's just listening?
It's Steve.
Hey, Steve.
Just listening. Do I, Becky?
All right, sir. I appreciate you calling in, brother, and listening. I'm going to go ahead and put you on mute.
That'd be fine, Becky.
Calling in. Appreciate it.
What I was getting at is that, you know, peripherally there's lots of stuff that's going on, and you can be aware of it without being distracted by it and paying attention. And you know, you laboriously cross-check all of this information, and which is extraordinary. It's great. I'm glad you do it. Thank God, because several of us do, and I do as well. But when I see a point and a place and I recognize something for what it is, I stay very tightly focused on that. But at the same time, I've taught myself over a long period of time to be aware peripherally of everything else that's going on around me. It doesn't require me to detract my attention to pay towards it unless it becomes threatening. And then only long enough to protect myself against that while keeping my eye on what's happening. And that's like when you watch news and such, even mainstream stuff. The value isn't in the reporting and all the bullshit stories. The value is in the the value is in the dis and misinformation. What's that?
We got 90 seconds.
Then let somebody sum it up.
It's over 90. They're going to cut my broadcast. Go ahead, brother. I'm telling you to wrap.
Go ahead and let. Well, so I'm just saying that with all the distractions, to keep our eye on the point and start preparing for the point right now, we can deal with all the other distractions later. Just be aware of what's going on around us and off to the side, because the closer we get to a point of attack, the more distraction and the more life-threatening distractions will come from the side. But those are designed specifically to keep us off the point. And the point is to resolve our constitutional republic and not be taken over. We need to get those community preparedness teams together so the militias, besides training just with themselves, they need to combine their neighbors and trust a general protection of their neighborhood in the event of whatever. You know, in an earthquake state.
With that, brother, that's a very valid point. I'm going to invite you back on my next show. In Washington, if you can't make it, still call in, because I'll definitely speak to you on. I'm going to be in Washington, D.C., streaming live when the sheriffs come. So, folks, keep your eyes and ears open. Keep your head on swivel. Thank you for joining me and Bill and the rest of the panel that called in today on Rage Against Regime. God bless you. God bless you, and be safe.
Thank you, sweetie.
When is this supposed to be with the sheriffs?
Pardon?
Becky. When is this supposed to be with the sheriffs?
December the 10th.
Wednesday.
The sheriffs will be in Washington. So I will be joining my Patriot brothers and sisters probably on the 9th. We will be live streaming several stations. So we expect to get a global audience, not just national.
I'll try to get you Denny Payman's phone number, one of the sheriffs with Mac, and see if you can attach to them so that you can have it reported and broadcast what they're doing.
Oh, absolutely. That'd be great. I was going to make my best attempt to speak with some of those folks in that group that are there. while I'm there. I'm going to see if I can capture a little bit of live interview with them to get some details. If they can, give any of those details to us, I'd certainly like for our Patriots to make me. Pardon?
I'll text you his phone number as soon as we're off. All
right, brother. I love you. And, again, Becky Williams, Regime, thank you for joining our Saturday show, Open Mic. Next time, you guys that are listening, call in. Let your views be heard, and go ahead and rage. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.